Hey everybody, welcome back to another segment of Bookends. It's Jason, it's our buddy Teaser, I'm Chucky. Well, baseball just finished kind of their midway point. The All-Star Game was so much fun to watch, Jay. I mean, the home run hitting contest we had up, the game, the American League's won for the 8th straight time, but I'm going to highlight the home run hitting contest. It becomes bigger and bigger every year. Of course, we had Ohtani in it, who was the favorite, who didn't win it, but it was just fun TV. I mean, we adjusted the prices after every round. We took an amazing handle on it, and it was just a fun event to watch.
Yeah, incredible. Obviously, Pete Alonso winning it
was
locked in, and the battle between Ohtani and Soto in that first round. And I was most disappointed in Salvador Perez and the fact that he hits the second most amount of homers in that first round and gets knocked out by Alonso. So hopefully they can look at maybe a different format and not doing the matchups right off the bat. Maybe the top 4 guys advance, and then you go into the matchup round as we got to see some of those guys hit a little bit lower homers than what Pat Perez did and advance on. But again, it was awesome, and obviously being in Colorado. 520-foot shot by Soto, and the game itself had that great feel. Arenado getting the standing ovation back in Colorado, and seeing some of the guys out there. Again, it's always cool to see the superstars of the game and the guys that we cheer for every day, kind of in that setting.
I think the home run hitting contest gets bigger and bigger every year. They've already Vlad's kind of put out there that maybe him and Tatis will be in it next year, and it's fun to watch these guys. I mean, it's a 3-hour event. And you can tell, though, they get a little bit winded going through the whole process. And it was especially in that altitude up there, you can understand why some of those guys were huffing and puffing after the first round.
Well, I tell you, I don't know if you got to saw the graph of Pete Alonso's pitcher and where he put the pitches in those rounds. But he had it in the box there, every pitch in the same spot. So as much as it's a home run hitting contest, I think it comes back down to which pitching coaches.
Remember Bryce Harper had his dad out there,
and which guys are able to throw a lot of strikes and put them in the spot that they want. You saw some of those guys putting the ball all over the place, and that made it a little bit tougher for those hitters to hit. So kudos to Alonso and his Foss, I think was the pitching coach's name. And we did good. Most of the action was on Soto and Ohtani.
Ohtani, right?
From that standpoint. So Alonso was good from us from a book side of the home run derby.
Yeah, it's always fun. I mean, it's a 3-hour event. I watched it with my son. I know we kind of talked about it throughout the event. It's just kind of a cool event now that baseball does. We had a lot of props up on the All-Star Game as well, and kind of an overall kind of a nice break for baseball going into the second half. I think the big stories now, before we get into some of the teams, it's the trade deadline. Trade deadline's at the end of this month, and there are some big names out there. If it's Trevor Story, Joey Gallo, Kyle Gibson, Nelson Cruz, and then that core group of the Cubs might be the key to what happens in the second half of the season. If it's Chris Bryant, who's rumored to maybe go to the Mets, Anthony Rizzo, Padres, or Red Sox, get Greg Kimbrell, maybe to the Astros. They could use another guy in their bullpen. And then Javi Baez, who's a big guy out there, too. People are looking at maybe the Yankees. And then you have to look at Wilson Contreras, too, with the White Sox, with the injury to Kendall. Well, would they actually look at Wilson Contreras, just kind of go across town? So there's a lot of key moves that I think are going to happen that are going to kind of reshape baseball going into the second half of the season.
Yeah, these last 2 weeks kind of defined who was going to be buyers and who was going to be sellers. There's not a lot of intrigue out there as to who's going to make a move and who's not going to make a move. The teams that are clearly looking to get rid of some players are out of the hunt, and the good teams will see what pieces they can pick up to make that run. Obviously, the Dodgers have the whole Bauer situation hanging over their head with what's going to happen there, and are they going to need to add a piece of the puzzle? Barrios from Minnesota is another big name that you didn't mention that's out there, but
John Gray from the Rockies, even Nick Castellanos, who's having a great season with the Reds. He has an opt-out clause after the season, which they're afraid he might do. So he might be somebody who's dealt as well. So if a team needs a bat between Gallo and Castellanos and Chris Bryant, there's some big-name guys out there. Nelson Cruz, put him in the A's lineup. I mean, I think that helps a lot, too, as a DH there.
I think, again, it's going to be interesting. What is it, another 2 weeks away before we hit that deadline. So it's going to be an interesting 2 weeks to see what happens.
I think a lot's going to happen prior to that. I think you're going to see a lot of movement now that we're in the second half of the season and the All-Star break is done. I mean, for me, looking at kind of the teams going into the second half, disappointments for me would be the Braves. I know now they lose Acuna. Maybe they're a trade guy. Maybe they look at one of those big bats.
But they're only four games out of the East.
But I mean, losing him, I think,
absolutely
intensifies them to make a move without him. I think the Cardinals, after they picked up Arenado, I think they're a little bit of a disappointment too. But the Yankees, with that payroll, and you look at that lineup there, the Yankees to me are kind of one of the bigger disappointments in baseball. And the teams that have just kind of exceeded everybody's expectations you didn't really see coming was the struggles the Red Sox and Giants had last year. Both are the two top teams in baseball right now in their respective divisions or leagues. This Giant team has been really good, and I think they'll be active at the trade deadline too, with the resurgence from Crawford and Posey and the way that these guys have kind of played right now. That National League West is going to be fun the second half of the season.
Two teams for me, again, the Brewers, kind of, in the rest of the division that just doesn't want to try and win games.
They need a bat too.
They've been battling it out with the Reds and the rest of the division really struggling. But yeah, their pitching is absolutely fantastic. We got to see most of their guys playing in the All-Star game, and Hader and Williams on the back end. As you said it, if they could add a bat to that lineup and get Yelich going a little bit, they can be a threat. And the other team, the hottest team as we came out of coming out of All-Star break, probably the hottest team in the league is the Chicago White Sox. Again, they're getting to pick on the rest of the kind of lowly teams in the Central there, but they're going to get some of their injured guys back. Their pitching
Jimenez
staff
and Luis Robert.
Lynn has been fantastic. You got Kopech coming back and Giolito, and that offense with
Hendricks on the back end. Right.
The young kids, Vaughn and Collins, and Grandal's down a little bit, but the White Sox are a team to watch out for. And you still I still kind of wonder what's going to happen in the East there. You got this incredible Toronto lineup of the young kids that are just mashing the ball. If they can find a way to add some pitching or a piece in the bullpen, and I still think Tampa has got a great lineup. I know that Glasnow's been out, but I still think there's a lot of young kids and good pitching in Tampa for Cash and his team to make a run.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting, but that's why I think that trade deadline is that if you're a team that has a Joey Gallo or a Nelson Cruz or a Trevor Story or a Chris Bryant, you're going to get some bids out there. You're going to be able to kind of get what you want back because there's so many big names out there that are going to be dealt.
When I look at the trade line, I don't really look at it from a big hitting standpoint. I always look at the trade line as what are the big pitchers that are going to go make a big difference to a
There's
a
not
good team.
not a lot this year.
Like you said, the Gibson, the Barrios. I mean, those
the
are
John Gray,
those are
maybe.
big pickups. If you can add a guy like that to a rotation and not your top of your rotation, you put Texas's number one starter into the 4 spot on one of these good teams, that really makes your second half have horses go out there every given night.
And I know we're talking about those 3 guys, but if you go back about 2 or 3 weeks, maybe a month, there was some rumblings out there about Max Scherzer. So, I mean, if somebody could pry him away, if you're a Red Sox or a Yankees or a Dodgers or Padres, Giants, you're able to add a Max Scherzer. It changes the entire landscape of what happens in baseball over the second half of the season.
Look at a guy like Craig Kimbrell. If the Cubs get rid of Kimbrell, he probably doesn't go to a contender as the closer anymore. He goes to a contender as their 7th or 8th inning guy. What does that do to a bullpen when you take a guy like that and throw them in?
Watch the Astros with Kimbrell. I think after their closer, you look at the rest of that bullpen, it's been shaky at best. You're able to add Kimbrell to the Astros. I think that's huge. I think Kimbrell's got a real shot. I think the Cubs have to trade Kimbrell and Bryant. Those are the 2 guys that have those expiring contracts that they've offered, especially in Bryant's case. They offered him a big deal a couple of years ago. He turned it down. I think Mets are kind of the favorite for him. Astros for Kimbrell. We'll see what happens with Contreras, maybe the White Sox. Not sure about Rizzo and Baez right now. I think those are the 2 most logical guys to stay, but it wouldn't surprise me if they traded all 5 of that core group.
Well, we'll see what happens here. We'll have to make the adjustments on the fly.
We will. We're going to jump over now to basketball. The NBA Finals has been fun. I mean, it's 2-2. Book and Antetokounmpo have been phenomenal. There's been a lot of role players who have stepped up and played great games. The home teams are 4-0 right now. We don't have Game 5 until Saturday, so they get some rest here. They go back to Phoenix. What do you think is going to happen the rest of the way?
I think it's kind of that who's going to step up and play a good game. We've seen Booker and Giannis.
Book is fun to watch.
Absolutely play fantastic games, and it's kind of comes down to the role players on who's able to pitch in what and have a great game. From our standpoint, we've been kind of Milwaukee Bucks fans the vast majority of these games. I think outside of Game 3, we've been cheering for Milwaukee, so I found myself kind of rooting for the Milwaukee side of things, and they're a little bit better on our future book standpoint, and really been frustrated with the play of Drew Holiday. Holiday. I think that, again, if he was able to step up and make a couple more buckets a game, I think he's 10, 17, 18, 13 has been his kind of points through these first 4 games. I really think that he could make the difference for Milwaukee. We finally saw Chris Middleton have a good game in Game 4, but he's the that other secondary piece to
even
Giannis.
Bobby Portis has stepped up and played a good series.
Not getting the minutes that he was
right.
that we saw in the Atlanta series, and Lopez has kind of been in and out, has those great games and then disappears for stretches. But again, looking at it from a Milwaukee standpoint, I think that the one big piece is Drew Holiday has to step his game up.
Yeah, I think when you look at this, and Phoenix was up 9, a chance to go up 3-1, go back home in Game 5 and end the series. It's now 2-2. It's going to be fun to watch, I think, the rest of the way. I think it's a really interesting series right now. We've seen this number creep up a little bit already on Phoenix in Game 5. I think they're 5-point favorites the last time they were at home. This time it opened up 4. Starting to see some Phoenix money. I think the bettors are going to back Phoenix in this game, though.
Yeah, and they're a different team. I mean, you take them. It's a younger team. Take them back home. The Valley's been absolutely incredible for their home games. Booker.
So has the Deer District.
Even Chris Paul. It seems like he's. Again, outside of being able to go down to Los Angeles and play the game that he did down there, you get him back home. It seems like that whole team has a different level of comfortness. So again, I think Game 5 is to me, it won't surprise me at all if we see a Game 7 as Phoenix takes this one and Milwaukee goes back home to even it up, and we'll see a Game 7 in the finals.
Right, NHL was kind of fast. It went in 5 games, and really Tampa dominated that series. But in the NBA, it's been really interesting right now the way it's been just a home geared series so far. So we'll see what happens the rest of the way. Real quick with hockey too. Later this month, you've got both the expansion draft and the NHL entry draft. Expansion draft's going to be interesting. I know the Knights aren't in it, but you just wonder how active they might be as far as Marc-Andre Fleury. Some rumors of him going to potentially Chicago with the Knights kind of taking half that salary. What do they do at the trade deadline or in free agency and trades? They've been tied to Jack Eichel. I just don't know if they make that move or not. They'd be extremely top heavy at that point.
Yeah, they've got a bunch of guys. Martinez, number one, that they need to figure out if they're going to take care of.
I think goaltending is number one, though.
You can't. Again, we saw him have a great season with the two of them. Obviously, Leonard missed a large majority of the season. Fleury stood on his head.
It's just too much money tied up, though.
But they've got some answers or things that they need to look to do to take this team to the next level. I think Riley Smith, another question mark, whether they're going to keep him or not. And we'll see if they can make a deal for Eichel. I think it's something that you have to do, but it's going to come.
It's going to cost them Shea Theodore. It's going to cost them
Tuck. We were. I love Nate Schmidt. Was here obviously the inaugural team, and Nate Schmidt was that defenseman. But in order to get better, sometimes you have to make changes, and that's how you get to a championship team, is to not be committed to certain pieces, and the pieces that you need that you think are going to take you to that championship level you hold on to, and the ones that aren't going to get you there, you got to make a change.
We've seen Toronto, though, who's kind of been that big name hunter in the offseason, and what they've kind of built. They're so top heavy, though. The back end has kind of suffered. They haven't won a playoff series in God knows how many years. And I hate to give up a guy like Shea Theodore now, who I think is going to be that stud defenseman for the next 10 years.
Yeah, I don't think they want to give him up.
But he would probably be somebody who would be tied to that Eichel deal, along with Alex Tuck and a few other players as well. But we'll see what happens.
I think it starts with the goaltending, as you said, though. Right. If they make a move with the goalie, we'll see what that frees up, and then what pieces of the puzzle come around. And again, excited to see the expansion draft, see what the Kraken get. And hockey's already got some moves as a favorite of ours. Duncan Keith leaves the Hawks and will make his way up to Edmonton. And so again, it's nice to see these moves and see what happens during the offseason.
If you're Chicago, you have to be excited not to lose Duncan Keith. I mean, he's going to go down as one of the best Hawks ever, 2-time Norris Division winner, won the Cup 3 times. Still remember him taking that shot against the Sharks when he lost I think 8 or 9 teeth. But to be able to not retain any salary and get rid of the entire salary really opens things up for them to look at maybe Seth Jones or Dougie Hamilton. But we're going to jump into football too. I think we're 55 days away from the first football game. Teams will be going to camp later this month. There's a lot of great stories. We're taking signups right now for both the pro and college last man standing. So football's not that far away, gang.
Before we kind of glance over that. Let's go into exactly what last man standing is. So we've got our college last man standing where we've guaranteed a $100,000 prize. Pro last man standing, we've guaranteed a $150,000 prize. If you sign up for both, win them both as an individual winner, you're going to get a $750,000 bonus. So maybe I'll take home $1 million if you win both the college and pro. But college last man standing on a weekly basis. So you sign up, buy 4 entries, get a 5th entry free, $25 a piece. So $100 will get you 5 entries. You then come in week 1, and you're going to find a sheet in the book with a parlay card, and that sheet's going to have 20 to 25 to maybe even 30 college football games, all of them with a point spread, all of them with a half a point so that there's no ties. You're going to pick one winner for each one of your entries. You can pick, if you have 5 entries, you can pick the same 5 teams, same team on all 5 or 5 different ones or whatever you want to do. As long as you pick a winner that week, you're going to advance to week 2. Week 2, you're going to come in, take that same sheet, different games, pick your winner. As long as you win, you're going to advance to week 3, and so on, and until you're potentially the last man standing. And obviously the same thing from a pro football standpoint. Everything's against a point spread with a half point. Pick a winner in advance. And it's been really our
signature contest.
Contest.
Really
Our guests love it, to be that person that's going to get through these weeks. And I think college, we found ourselves getting to 10 to 12 weeks, and pro is normally about 1 week longer than the college. But it's really, really a lot of fun to test yourself against everybody else out there and see what your weekly pick is on a weekly basis.
The format really is, just to simplify it even more, it's just like the college basketball tournament. You win, you move on. You lose, you go home for that particular card. I think the fun thing for me is as it starts to go through it and you get to week 8, week 10, the contestants or guests that are left kind of listening to their stories about games that they're kind of looking at and, I was going to pick this team and I'm glad I didn't, or at the last minute I changed and picked this team and they won. So the stories are kind of cool too, and maybe we'll be fortunate we can get some of those guests on Bookends this year, kind of talk to them a little bit about their strategy and maybe a bad beat or a great win they had moving forward.
Yeah, and one of the questions I always get is, once I use a team, can I use them again?
Right.
Yeah, there's no rules like that. You could, if you like the Kansas City Chiefs, you can play the Kansas City Chiefs every week, and as long as they're covering and you're advancing, you're good to go. So there's no can't play a team once I played them. Once you use a team, the next week starts over. As long as you've got that winner, you can pick any team on the board.
Yeah, it's so much fun. I mean, guys, everything that we kind of talk about. I mean, last weekend you think about, you had NBA, you had baseball, you had UFC, you had golf, you had Euro Cup. You had so many things going on. We love it when you guys come in and experience everything we have to offer. But if you can't make it here, get signed up for STN Sports. I mean, it really brings the sportsbook to the palm of your hand. We still have that bonus going on right now, up to $100. $50 deposit initially gets you an STN mobile cap. It really does bring the sportsbook to the palm of your hand. And when you're here, our kiosk. We have kiosks at all of our properties, the Wildfire Gaming properties and the El Cortez. Skip the line. You can bet both race and sports on these kiosks whenever there's a long line, or kind of when you're in the book. It even expands the book hours till 2 a.m. right now if you're around and you want to bet at one of these kiosks.
Yeah, and again, time to get yourself ready. I think you said 55 days away from football season, and we've got up the entire first week of college football, so all the games that are being played in college is up that first week. We've got pro football week 1 up. We've got a bunch of props.
All the Raider games are up for the upcoming season.
A lot of stuff to look at. I know a lot of people are probably starting to grab out their fantasy books or get online and look at their their fantasy teams right. and who they're going to draft and start to look at some players and a lot of different unique faces. We talk about big one Stafford making the move to LA and what's
Julio
that
Jones
what's that going to be the Rams.
Right.
So a lot of pieces out there, a lot of rookies to look at, especially from a wide receiver standpoint and that type of stuff. So I think that this is going to be one of the absolutely fantastic NFL seasons that we're coming up on, and very excited. And again, we're expanding the menu. We going to add up to 2 points on both college and pro football. So a lot of cool stuff on the app. And again, in play has been absolutely fantastic on the app. So just another reason to
UFC in play this past weekend.
Get yourself signed up. Make sure you have the app. That $10 or $10 10% up to $100 bonus is available, and the in-play wagering menu is absolutely extensive. So it's not just the pregame stuff. Is once the games start, get yourself in on that in-play action.
I think with the rookies too in football, I'm looking forward to the quarterbacks. If it's Trevor Lawrence or Trey Lance or Zach Wilson or Justin Fields or Mac Jones, I'm interested to see which one of these guys really kind of makes an impact and takes it to the next level. It's going to be fun to watch these guys. As we talked about, it's about 55 days away. We're excited about it. Don't forget, get signed up for Last Man Standing. Jason, Teaser, Chuck, we'll see you guys next week on another segment of Bookends.